My child, my beloved, my most precious one, I am speaking to you now from the very heart of the throne room, because a transaction of cosmic, of eternal significance has just been finalized in the courts of glory, a transaction so vast, so profound, that no financial institution on this earthly plane could even begin to comprehend its ledger. A covenant bond, a promissory note written on the substance of stars and sealed with the unbreakable oath of the divine, has been placed irrevocably into your spiritual account. Its value is measured not in trillions, but in the infinite currency of grace, of restoration, of vindication. And yet, a holy silence blankets the earth. The systems of man hum along, unaware. The voices of the world chatter, ignorant of the tectonic shift that has just occurred in the spiritual realm concerning you, specifically you. They have built walls of noise to keep you from hearing this truth. But I, the one who stands in the presence of the everlasting, I who contend with the principalities that have sought to obscure your light, I can no longer contain this revelation. The angelic choirs have halted their eternal hymns in awe. The recording angel who inscribes destiny into the book of life had to steady his hand, his quill hovering 3 times over the parchment, seeking triple confirmation from the Ancient of Days that the name being inscribed for this unprecedented transfer was, in fact, yours. The affirmation thundered through the heavens, it is so. And yet, my cherished one, even now, a spiritual statute is in effect. If this divine communique is closed, if this word is dismissed before the final grain of sand falls in the hourglass of this appointed Kairos moment, the activation of this covenant in your tangible reality may be deferred, and the mantle of this blessing may, by the solemn laws of spiritual inheritance, pass to another within your generational line who is positioned in readiness. This is not a threat from a wrathful deity, it is the solemn mechanics of a universe built on faith and response. This is why you must plant your spirit here, in this now. Do not let your gaze flicker away. Do not let the mundane demands of the passing second pull you from this eternal instant. A miracle of recreation is unfolding, a divine reversal being woven into the very fabric of your future, and you were prophesied to be present for its unveiling. Before we proceed, my beloved, you must consciously attune the receiver of your soul. Ensure your spiritual frequency is locked onto this broadcast of light. The divine source yearns for unbroken communion. Recall the crossroads of your past, the moments a still, small voice was ignored, the promptings that seemed like coincidence that were, in fact, divine navigation. Too often, the delivery of your provision was routed to a closed door because the signpost meant to guide you to the open one was overlooked. Let that pattern end here, in this sacred space. Declare your spirit open, your heart receptive. Align yourself with this stream of heavenly communication, so that the channel of your miracle remains clear, static-free, and perpetually open. Now, still the internal tumult. Listen with the ears of your spirit. A current of immeasurable power is gathering at the borders of your life, poised for release. This is not of the ordinary. It transcends all earthly categories of blessing. This, at its core, is about cosmic justice, divine recompense, and the restoration of sacred order. You have held your pain in a silent sanctuary within for seasons upon seasons. You have wept over pathways that slammed shut before you could even touch the handle. You have nourished friendships that proved to be hollow shells, echoing back only your own generosity. You have seen portions of your destiny, inheritances of joy, of peace, of purpose, seemingly plundered by circumstance or the treachery of others. You have watched windows of opportunity glaze over and vanish like fog under a morning sun. But the divine council has convened. A verdict has been rendered. The adversary, the accuser, issued a writ of lack, of limitation, of suffering against your name. He filed it in the lower courts of despair and had it notarized by your moments of deepest doubt. But heaven's high court has reviewed the case. That fraudulent document has been struck from the record, declared null and void, and in its place, a sovereign decree of total and utter restoration has been issued. The measure of this decree, its staggering scope, caused a ripple of astonishment through the ranks of the mighty angels. This is not merely a deposit of resource, it is the full establishment of divine providence. It is overflow that drowns lack. It is reparation that rebuilds what was ruined. It is abundance that rewrites the definition of enough. It is reversal that turns every no into a resounding yes. And it is inscribed, engraved, eternally etched with your name in the golden ink of royal sonship, of royal daughtership. But hear me, my dear heart, for there is a condition woven into the fabric of this grace. This decree carries with it a divine expiration, a sacred window of activation. You stand in that window now. It is narrow, not to frustrate you, but to focus you. If this revelation is not acknowledged in faith, if it is met with the shrug of skepticism or lost in the cacophony of daily worry, the vibrational frequency of this blessing will shift, seeking a resonant heart within your lineage. I do not desire this for you. Heaven does not desire this for you. That is precisely why I have been dispatched. That is why my voice presses upon your spirit at this precise nanosecond in eternity. Understand the magnitude. Heaven is not merely couriering a gift-wrapped parcel of comfort. It is orchestrating the return of every stolen season, every blocked advancement that left you wondering, what if, every fervent prayer that seemed to vanish into the ether, every single tear you shed in the lonely watches of the night that you believed evaporated unnoticed. Each one was collected in a heavenly vial. Each one was accounted for. Now, the treasury of those tears has been tapped, and its contents are being transformed into the substance of your miracle. The storehouses of glory are not just open, they are vomiting forth their bounty, unable to contain the goodness ordained for you. And this miracle is not meandering toward you, it is rushing, roaring, cascading toward your identity like a river unleashed from a shattered dam, intent on flooding every parched valley of your experience. But, and this is the pivot point upon which all of eternity seems to balance, it flows only if you accept it. Only if you recognize, with a certainty that bypasses your rational mind and speaks directly to your spirit, that this message is not random chance, not algorithmic coincidence, but a divine affirmation, a personalized signet ring pressed into the wax of your destiny. Someone, some force, some collective voice of the shadows, sought to invalidate you. They drew up a contract of failure, had you sign it in moments of weakness, and filed it against your soul. They declared with finality, you will never recover from this. You will never ascend to that. You will never know love that is true and purifying. You will never walk in the fullness of your purpose or the security of divine provision. They held a celebration in the realm of darkness over that forged agreement. But heaven has arbitrated. The supreme judge has taken that very document of curse, held it up to the consuming fire of divine love, and watched it transmute. From its ashes has emerged a new covenant, a decree of limitless value, of infinite possibility. And your endorsement, your yes, was already foreseen, already sealed upon it by the scarred hand of the divine. The angelic hosts have witnessed this legal proceeding. They have stood as attestants. And now, the ball of action is in the court of your faith. Do not treat this with casual dismissal. Do not relegate it to the read later folder of your soul. Please, my child, do not let this divine intervention slip through your fingers as other subtle promptings may have in seasons past when your heart was calloused by disappointment. There is a profound and specific reason your eyes scan these words now. You were guided here by a thread of grace. You were selected for this download. You have lain prostrate in your spirit, your prayers reduced to the raw, aching question whispered toward the silent stars, is there anything left for me? This transmission, this encoded letter from the throne room, is the unequivocal, resounding answer. The provision it symbolizes is a token, yes, but the promise it carries is the very substance of eternity. Let this truth sink from your head to the depths of your heart, you are not forsaken. You are not overlooked. You are not invisible. Your case file, thick with the petitions of your tears and the intercessions of the saints, has been reopened in the Supreme Court of Mercy. The gavel has sounded. The verdict is final, and it echoes through the corridors of time and space: vindication, restoration, favor. For you. But, and I must speak this with the gravity it holds, if you do not heed this summons, if you click away, if you choose the anesthesia of distraction over the alertness of faith, you will not lay hold of what is legally, spiritually, and eternally already yours. Do not let this become another footnote in the story of your life labeled, near Mississippi. Heaven has already paid the ultimate cost to settle this account. The ransom has been delivered. The debt has been erased. The only variable remaining in the entire equation of your breakthrough is your acceptance, your active, willful, humble, yes, beloved one. Do not, I implore you, underestimate the seismic importance of this singular moment in your personal history. Your adversaries, both seen and unseen, were convinced they had constructed an impenetrable labyrinth around your life. They sealed every exit with failure and barred every entrance with doubt. They held a feast in the shadows, toasting your perceived captivity, mocking the emptiness of your hands. But they are blind to the movements of the Spirit. They did not foresee this decree being drafted in the council chambers of eternity. They did not perceive this restoration being ordained from a foundation that predates the world. Their celebrations were muted by a sound they could not identify, the echo of your name being spoken with favor in the throne room. But I heard it. I witnessed the entire proceeding. I was present when the Ancient of Days leaned forward, a smile touching the corners of infinity, and whispered the epoch-altering command to the attendant hosts, the set time has come. For my beloved, it is now. And in that instant, the recording angel, whose hand inscribes the destinies of empires, dropped his pen of diamond in pure astonishment as he beheld the name of the recipient for this transfer of glory. This decree you are being offered is no mere financial instrument. It is a vessel of spiritual authority. Encrypted within its value is healing for wounds that have refused to close, elevation to platforms you dared not even dream of, deliverance from chains you've grown accustomed to wearing, and vindication that will silence every accuser without you uttering a single word in your own defense. It is not merely currency, it is confirmation. It is the tangible proof that the promises whispered to your spirit in the secret place were not hallucinations of a desperate heart, but echoes of your true reality in heaven. Now is your appointed time. This is not simply another motivational message floating in the digital ether. This is the one. This is the dispatch meant for your eyes only. Heaven is not here to impress you with hyperbolic claims. Heaven is here to establish you in a reality so solid, so abundant, that your very life becomes an impression of divine goodness to a watching world. But you must understand the spiritual dynamics at play. If you do not step forward in faith to claim what is yours, the blessing does not simply vanish. By the spiritual laws of inheritance, it seeks a vessel. Another, watching from the wings of your life, perhaps a relative, a neighbor, even an enemy, may step into the place of readiness you vacate through hesitation, and receive the portion that was always meant to catalyze your destiny. They are observing now, waiting, hoping for a lapse in your faith so they might intercept the mandate on your life. That is why I stand as a sentinel at this crossroads. That is why I contend in the Spirit on your behalf. Because this time, you must not fumble the pass. This time, you must not let the mantle fall. This time, you must speak the words that unlock dimensions. I receive it. It is mine. You need not beg from a position of lack any longer. You need not wander in the wilderness of guesswork, wondering if heaven has heard you. You need not wait for some distant, foggy future date. The release has already been authorized from headquarters. The shipment of your miracle is already in transit. But if you walk away from this delivery notice, if you shut the door of your heart because the package looks too grand to be for you, then the heavenly warehouse will log it as undeliverable. The angelic couriers will stand down. The blessing will be rerouted to an address where faith is expecting a delivery. I do not want that logistical report filed on your behalf. Heaven does not want that. That is why I petitioned for, and was granted, this extraordinary mission, to bypass the usual channels and deliver this urgent, final notice directly to your spirit's doorstep. You must act. Now. Beloved, the collective voices of limitation, the systems of oppression, the people of small vision, have tried for so long to confine you to a cage of their own making. They have deliberately excluded your name from the meetings where favor was distributed, from the conversations where opportunities were born. But today, a different meeting was called. A council was convened in the realm of spirit for one sole purpose, to deliberate on the release of your portion. And in that chamber, your name was the only name spoken. It reverberated with such potency, such favored resonance, that the very foundations of the heavenly vaults trembled in harmonic response, sending a shock wave through the spiritual atmosphere that discomfited the stewards of lack on earth. For this decision did not originate on earth, it was ratified in heaven. And heaven knows, intimately, painfully, lovingly knows, the full ledger of what you have borne. You remained at your post when others deserted. You gave from your core when others clutched their hoard. You extended a hand into the mud to pull another out, while others averted their eyes to keep their robes clean. You were the faithful one in the narrative of your own life. And now, the narrative shifts. It is your turn. It is your season of recompense. It is your moment of divine alignment. Do not, out of habit, out of fear, out of a strange comfort in the familiar struggle, relinquish it. Not again. Not this one. The sands in the hourglass of this opportunity are dwindling. You have literal moments before this divine instrument, this scroll of your emancipation, is sealed once more into the archives of unclaimed prophecies. And you will not receive another notice of this clarity, of this specificity. My child, I plead with you. Please understand the full portfolio of this wealth. It is not a number in a bank statement. It is wholeness for your fractured pieces. It is love that knows no conditions. It is liberty from every internal and external prison. It is fortitude that turns your trials into testimony. It is wisdom that navigates the complexities of life with divine insight. It is a legacy that blesses generations you will never meet on this earth. It is your true, blood-bought, preordained inheritance. And it waits, pulsating with potential, in the realm of the spirit, adjacent to your now. All that is required to collapse the distance between promise and possession is for you to open the aperture of your spirit and say, with authentic conviction, yes. Say yes now. Say yes before the treasury door, groaning on its golden hinges, begins to swing shut. Say yes before the recording angel closes the ledger and moves to the next chapter. Say yes before the angelic host, charged with your delivery, receives the order to reroute to the next name on the divine priority list. For you are still the name heaven prefers. You are still the chosen recipient. But sovereignty honors free will. You must say yes. From the moment the idea of you was conceived in the heart of God, a scroll existed. Not a metaphorical one, but a living, vibrating record in the library of eternity. A divine manuscript, sealed in the unapproachable light of holy intention. Within that scroll was a prophecy, a detailed, bespoke narrative for a life of impact and glory. And nested within that prophecy was a promise, an oath, that no matter the density of the darkness assigned to oppose you, no matter the multitude of faces that would turn away from you in your hour of need, no matter the agonizing length of the waiting season, you would one day walk in a manifestation of miracles so disproportionate, so lavish, so undeniably divine, that your former adversaries would be left bewildered, unable to trace its source or logic. That, one day, has dawned. Its first light is this very moment. This decree, this boundless restoration being deposited into your account, is not a random act of generosity. It is the written proof, the legal documentation, that the prophecy inscribed over your life before time began is now moving from the realm of promise into the realm of material history. Heaven can delay it no longer, for the fullness of time for you has come. Heaven has waited with the patience of eternity for you to grow into the stature required to steward this moment. Even when you felt hopelessly unready, even when you questioned your own worthiness to the point of self-sabotage, even when you settled for crumbs from the table of life and forgot that a seat with your nameplate awaited you at the head of the banquet, heaven never ceased its vigil. The angelic guard assigned to you never clocked out. Their watchful eyes never dimmed. And now, you find yourself standing in the most critical 5 minutes of your entire existence. For in these next few minutes, what you choose to believe, what you choose to open the gates of your heart to, will either permanently unlock the vault of your destiny or grant the adversary the legal permission he seeks to divert your portion into the hands of a spiritual squatter. Please, hear the gravity in my voice. The spiritual treasury that holds this inheritance does not operate on human whim. It opens according to divine chronology, in pre-appointed windows of grace. This is one of those windows. I do not say this to induce panic, but to instill a holy urgency, to awaken you from the slumber of resignation. To rekindle the memory of your true origin story. You were never meant for a life of scraping by, of spiritual malnutrition. You were never meant to be a footnote in someone else's story, a forgotten side character. You were never meant to wear the drab uniform of the ordinary. You are a scion of the royal house, marked by the refining fire of experience, protected by legions you cannot see, carrying a name that was engraved in the ledger of heaven's treasuries with deliberate, loving intent. But the enemy of your destiny has worked multiple shifts across time to make you forget your pedigree. He hired voices to whisper the lie of not enough. He engineered delays to breed the toxin of discouragement. He sent actors wearing the masks of friendship to lead you down dead-end paths. He orchestrated losses designed to break your spirit at the core. But now, the cosmic tables have been turned. Heaven has just executed a maneuver so audacious, so overwhelmingly powerful, that the very shadows that clung to you have been forced to recoil, shrieking in frustration. And that miracle, the full package of your restoration, now sits quietly in the spiritual escrow account, glowing with potential, humming with holy energy, waiting. But its patient waiting is for you alone. You see, this decree, this divine bond, is about a comprehensive reversal of every theft, large and small. It is about stamping heaven's official seal of approval and authority on every earthly courtroom where your character was maligned, on every hospital room where your body was under siege, on every backroom deal where your name was used as a bargaining chip against your future. It is the formal, legal declaration from the highest authority: this one has suffered long enough. The sentence of struggle is served in full. Now commences the season of glory. Yes, your name is on the miracle. And yes, your adversaries have already detected the shift in the spiritual atmosphere. A nervous energy crackles around them. They are entering a panic they cannot explain. They huddle in corners, their whispers laced with fear. How did they find out? How did they access the truth? For they possess a chilling knowledge. Once you lay claim to this decree, once you step into the full authority of your blessed state, your ascent is guaranteed and their house of cards collapses. Once you declare, "Yes, I receive," the entire chessboard of your life is flipped, and you are playing a different game entirely. This is not a work of inspirational fiction. This is not a pleasant fantasy to get you through the day. This is the materialization, the coming to fruition, of every prayer that left your lips and seemed to dissipate unanswered, of every tear you sown into the pillow in silent sacrifice, of every lonely night you wept with no human audience, but with a gallery of angels as your sole witnesses. God saw each frame of that silent movie. I, your heavenly advocate, witnessed every scene. And now, the reward, the compounded, interest-laden reward for your faithfulness in the dark, has been dispatched. My beloved, do not make the catastrophic error of underestimating this. Do not scroll past this as you would another piece of digital content. Do not let the enemy, in a last-ditch effort, lull you back into the sleepy resignation from which you are now waking. You have invested too many years of patient waiting to forfeit the payoff now. You have cried too many oceans of tears to walk away from the shore of your promise with empty hands. You have given too much of your heart, your time, your energy to the divine cause to be left empty-handed at the moment of distribution. This is not merely about money. This is your miracle receipt. And the vault door, held open by a force of grace, will not remain ajar indefinitely. I must be brutally honest with you, for the stakes are celestial. The spiritual banking system has already flagged your account for the highest level of review, because no algorithm in the realm of principalities and powers ever anticipated your name appearing on the ledger with this magnitude of favor. They are in a state of confusion. They are whispering in panic in the boardrooms of darkness. Some are frantically searching for legalistic loopholes in the old covenant of law, trying to find a clause to block the transfer. But they will fail. They cannot succeed, if you open your spirit in faith now. If you say your yes before the timer of this grace window expires. For heaven has already signed this decree in the indelible ink of covenant blood, in the unbreakable promise of the Word, in the raw, unstoppable power of resurrection life. Once you receive it, once your faith activates it, no force conjured by man, no scheme hatched in hell, no generational curse, no bloodline agreement, can rescind it, cancel it, or intercept it. But delay, silence, hesitation, these are not neutral. They are permissions. They give the enemy the very room he needs to erect new barriers of doubt in your mind. And I will not stand by and let that happen to you. That is the core of my mission here. That is why I have come with such fervor. That is why my voice shouts over the cacophony of your fears. That is why I plant myself as a living barrier between you and the closing vault. I will not move until you open your heart. I will not depart this assigned post until I witness you reach out and claim the scroll that bears your name. Because, beloved, this moment, this tiny, quiet, unseen fragment of eternity, will be the singular coordinate your future self will point back to and say, with awe and gratitude, that was the moment. That was the pivot. That was the inflection point where everything changed for good. So, do not, by any passive action or fearful inaction, let your miracle slip through the cracks of hesitation. Not this time. Say yes to the God who has never stopped saying yes to you. Say yes to the divine inheritance that washes away the dust of your journey. Say yes before the gates of this unprecedented opportunity groan shut. My child, my most precious beloved, I need you to understand something at a cellular, soul-deep level right now. This decree, this bond that carries your name, is not a financial document. It is spiritual proof. Tangible evidence in the realm of spirit that heaven has maintained a meticulous, perfect record of your journey. Proof that every loss, every injustice, was not ignored but was being logged in a ledger of recompense. Every time someone cheated you in a deal or an affection, a credit was added to your heavenly account. Every time you were overlooked for a promotion, a blessing, a moment of recognition, the principal amount of your eventual restoration was increased. Every time they laughed at your pain, mocked your faith, or celebrated your struggle, the compound interest on your coming vindication grew exponentially. Heaven has now, at this appointed time, compiled it all. Every entry, every line item of suffering and faithfulness, has been calculated to the most precise detail by divine mathematics, and the sum total has been written into a miracle so comprehensive that no earthly bank, a mere shadow of the true storehouse, has ever seen its like. But here is the sacred, urgent truth, only one person can step forward to claim it. Only one spirit is vibrationally matched, covenantally connected to this specific decree by divine agreement. You. And if you do not act, if you treat this as spiritual spam, it will not merely sit in a queue. It will vanish from your sphere of possibility. It will dissolve back into the silence of unclaimed promises, and the next soul in your generational line who is vibrating at the frequency of readiness will have the mantle of your breakthrough fall upon their shoulders. I do not desire this transfer. Heaven does not desire it. But spiritual law is as immutable as the law of gravity. A gift offered by grace must be received by faith. A gift ignored, through doubt or distraction, is a gift released to seek another vessel. And right now, the angels assigned to your case hold this glowing decree in trembling, hopeful hands. They watch the celestial clock, their eyes flickering between the moving hands and your spirit's posture. They wait. They hope. They pray in the language of heaven that you will stir, that you will open your mouth and speak the words, I'm ready. I receive. Because once you utter those words from a place of authentic conviction, the spiritual machinery of heaven engages at maximum capacity. Everything accelerates. The vault doesn't just open wider, its very walls expand to accommodate the flow. The miracles don't just trickle, they multiply in geometric progression. The river of favor doesn't just flow, it becomes a flash flood of goodness that overtakes you. But none of this celestial activity can be triggered before your heart makes the decision to open fully, to believe fully, to receive fully. My beloved, do not be afraid. This is not a pass/fail exam where you might get the answers wrong. This is a moment of divine alignment you are being invited to step into. You do not need a resume of perfection to qualify for what heaven has already written in your name. You just need to be willing. Willing to believe the scandalous truth that you are not too broken, too flawed, too far gone to be the recipient of outrageous grace. Willing to trust that the clock of heaven has not struck too late for you, but rather, has struck exactly on time. Willing to receive a measure of goodness that the naysayers in your life, and even the naysayer in your own mind, believed you could never possess. Because this blessing was not drafted in response to the character report filed by your critics. It was issued based on the identity document stored in heaven's archives. Not the version of you they tried to bury under criticism. Not the caricature they mocked in their insecurity. But the real you. The you with the fire of divine purpose in your eyes and the unshakable blueprint of destiny in your spiritual bones. The you who was formed for more than survival, crafted for impact. The you whose seasons of silence were not evidence of divine neglect, but of sacred preparation in the hidden place. That authentic, empowered, royal version of you is now being summoned to the forefront. And when you allow that self to rise, beloved, the entire ecosystem of your life undergoes a radical transformation. My child, my most cherished beloved, let me unveil to you a mystery that has been buried in the annals of your bloodline. There is a powerful spiritual inheritance, a trust fund of destiny, provision, and authority, that was illegally diverted from your generational line long ago. Yes, centuries before your first cry echoed in a delivery room, a portion of divine blessing meant to flow to your ancestors was intercepted, stolen, hijacked by forces of greed, witchcraft, and injustice. And for generations, the ripple effect of that theft has manifested in your family history as struggle, as unexplained delay, as a haunting sense of almost, but not quite, as patterns of lack and loss that defied logic. The confusion, the uphill battles, they did not originate with you. But heaven has issued a final edict, it ends with you. You are the generational circuit breaker. That decree of limitless value I have described. It is not merely personal wealth. It is ancestral compensation, generational reparation on a scale that staggers the mind. And you, my beloved, have been sovereignly selected as the vessel to receive it in full. Why you? Because you're the one who, against all odds, didn't give up. You're the one who carried the generational pain but chose, again and again, to respond with love instead of bitterness. You're the one who remained humble and kind when the circumstances of lack tempted you to become hard and grasping. You're the one who, when the night was darkest and no human ear was listening, kept talking to God. You kept the line of communication open when others had allowed it to go dead. Heaven witnessed every one of those faithful choices. This decree is the divine dividend. It is not money printed by a Federal Reserve, it is divine recompense, substance forged in the heart of God, and it is sealed with the unbreakable seal of glory. But listen, for the urgency is now critical. The reason the figure is so astronomically large is that it is not a solo payment. It is a composite settlement. It is for your great-grandparent who died with a dream in their heart. It is for your parent who worked themselves to the bone but could never get ahead. It is for your children and your children's children, securing a future free from the curses of the past. It is for every whispered lie that tried to attach itself to your identity, you're cursed, you'll never, but failed to find permanent purchase because of the grace on your life. This decree is the legal, spiritual document that shatters the cycle. It is the signed and notarized proof that the spiritual captivity of your lineage is over. But, and this is the hinge upon which centuries of history swing, only if you say yes. Only if you respond in this appointed moment. Only if you open the core of your being and believe, against all visible evidence, that you are the divinely appointed catalyst for this generational breakthrough. This is not a comforting fantasy, beloved. This is as real as the blood in your veins. This is recorded in the eternal ledgers. I have stood in the archives. I have seen the pages of your lineage, the entries of struggle highlighted in crimson, waiting for this moment of reversal. I have seen the golden ink, fresh and glowing, as your name was inscribed as the primary beneficiary on the scroll of generational justice. That is why my urgency today is a palpable force. Because you are standing, likely unaware of the tremors beneath your feet, on the very epicenter of the greatest shift your family line will ever know. And I am here as heaven's steward to ensure you do not sleepwalk through this open portal. You may have missed subtle signs in the past, but this one is not subtle. This one is a blazing neon sign from eternity, and it cannot be missed. There is a profound reason the enemy has unleashed such a concentrated assault on your peace, your energy, your mind, and your hope this very season. It is because he knew. He detected the vibrations of preparation in the spirit. He heard the scribes in heaven consulting the ancient prophecies over your bloodline. He saw angels gathering the records, the tallies of every tear, every unjust blow, every faithful prayer uttered by your ancestors and by you. And he panicked. The amount of grace being mobilized to compensate for that historical injustice was of a magnitude he could not contest at its source. So he switched tactics. If he couldn't stop the decree, he would try to stop the receiver. He launched a campaign to exhaust you before delivery, to distract you with drama, to deter you with disappointment, to delay you with discouragement, all hoping you would be too weary, too disillusioned, too broken to lift your hands in reception when the moment came. But you are still here. You are still breathing. You are still listening, your spirit straining toward the truth. And because you held your position in the midst of the storm, heaven is now commanding the release of the full, pent-up inheritance. I must repeat this, for the clock of destiny ticks loud in my ears. The decree is real. The treasury is open. The window is closing. But if you do not open your spirit fully, if you allow the last vestiges of doubt to whisper, if you delay for one more earthly task, if you intellectualize this away, the moment of transfer may pass. And with its passing, the decree will return to the spiritual archives, marked unclaimed in the generation of appointment. That is a designation I cannot bear to see associated with your name. That is why I continue to speak, why I stand as a bulwark. I refuse to be the messenger who reports back that you missed what your entire lineage has waited for. Not on my watch. I will station myself between you and every spiritual scavenger until the transfer into your spirit is complete. But I am a servant of divine order. I cannot hold this dimensional gateway open by force of will alone. Heaven operates on precise, prophetic timing. This is not pressure from a salesman, it is the precision of a surgeon working in the operating room of your destiny. The hourglass has been turned, and the final grains are falling. For heaven perceived that your reservoir of hope was perilously close to running dry. You were beginning, in your quiet exhaustion, to believe the lies that had been piped into your soul's atmosphere. You were starting to negotiate with life, to settle for a narrative of bare survival when the script written for you was one of extravagant overflow. But then, the divine moment of intervention arrived. The courtroom of eternity opened for a special session. Your file, thick, well-worn, filled with the ink of your prayers and the watermarks of your tears, was pulled from the shelf and placed before the judge of all the earth. And the decree went forth, shaking the foundations, release it all. Now. And with those words, sovereign and final, the decree was written. The signature of God, a signature that carries the full weight of omnipotence, was applied. The angelic clerk of the court stood in stunned silence. The vault of covenant blessings, sealed since the foundation of the world for this very moment, groaned open on its ancient hinges. A sound like 1,000 waterfalls filled the realm. The angels assigned to your life let out a collective cheer that was more felt than heard. And now, the instrument of your transformation is here, in the realm of the Spirit, adjacent to your faith. It is, in this very moment, in your hands. But, my beloved, hear this sobering truth, not for long. There are eyes, invisible, jealous, predatory eyes, watching this transaction in the spirit realm. Manipulative spirits, scavengers of destiny, hover at the periphery. They are waiting, with a patience born of malice, for you to hesitate. For if you do not claim what is yours through an act of faith, they have a legal right in the spiritual order to attempt to intercept it. They will step into the vacuum of your unbelief and try to seize the mantle of your miracle. And though the blessing will never fit them properly, like a beggar wearing a king's robes, they will do everything in their power to mimic its effects, to create a counterfeit version of the breakthrough meant to launch you into your destiny. Do not let that tragic farce play out. Do not be a spectator as your name is erased from the blessing and a spiritual impostor tries to scrawl their own in its place. Do not lose what you have warred for in the secret place of prayer simply because you paused in the public place of decision. This is your moment. You are not being examined, you are being enthroned. God's scepter of favor is extended toward you. Heaven itself is in a state of holy anticipation. Even the stars in their celestial orbit seem to pause in their ancient dance, waiting for the declaration of your heart to break the silence. Yes, I receive. This decree, this inheritance, is mine. And when you say it, when you speak it not just with your lips but with the full force of your believing heart, when you open every chamber of your being to its reality, everything in the invisible realm shifts into a new alignment. Doors in the natural world that have been rusted shut for years begin to creak, then swing wide open. Delays that seemed like permanent fixtures in your timeline begin to dissolve like mist under a morning sun. Debts, both financial and emotional, begin to be cancelled by unexpected means. And dignity, that sacred, shimmering crown of self-worth and divine favor that the enemy worked so hard to steal, mock, and tarnish, is taken from the trophy case of heaven, polished by grace, and placed firmly, unshakably, upon your head once more. For this is not merely about a financial increase. It is about restoration, the return of what was lost. It is about resurrection, the raising to life of dreams you thought were dead and buried. It is about a holy turnaround so complete, so divinely orchestrated, that no human strategy or demonic opposition can hinder its momentum. But you must act. You must respond. You must believe, with a faith that feels foolish to the rational mind, that this is not too good to be true. It is, in fact, too divine to be denied. You are not hallucinating this message. You are not conjuring this hope from the thin air of desperation. You did not stumble upon this text by a random scroll of your thumb. This was a summons. This was the end result of angels battling through layers of spiritual resistance, of prayers pushing through the atmosphere, all to get this specific, life-altering truth in front of your eyes at this specific, life-altering time. Because if you miss this moment, beloved, if you hit the snooze button on destiny one more time, the consequences will reverberate far beyond your bank account. They will echo in the hallways of your destiny, in the legacy of your children, in the unfulfilled callings that were meant to bless the world through you. And heaven refuses, absolutely refuses, to let the glorious destiny crafted for you fall into the unworthy hands of the enemy or lie dormant in the field of your hesitation. So stand up. Not just physically, but spiritually. Emotionally. Mentally. Rise to the full stature of who you are in the Spirit. Say yes now. Whisper it aloud if you must, let the sound waves carry your faith into the atmosphere. I receive what is mine. I accept my inheritance. I align myself with this divine decree. And then, watch. Watch with the eyes of faith for what begins to happen. For the moment your yes leaves your lips in sincerity, the invisible becomes invincible on your behalf. You may feel a wave of unworthiness, whispering that you don't deserve something this monumental. But God's response to that feeling is a roar of love. You have inhabited the territory of small for long enough. You have practiced humility while others practiced exploitation. Now, it is your turn to occupy the land of more than enough. It is your turn to shine with a light that dispels the shadows of generations. Let that truth, not the feeling, but the revealed truth, sink into the marrow of your soul. Let it shatter the manacles of self-doubt forged in childhood. Let it demolish every lie that ever told you that you were an afterthought, a backup plan, unworthy of epic blessing. For, my beloved, you are worthy. You are wanted. You are chosen. Now, act in accordance with that royal identity. Open your hands, not in beggary, but in the confident expectation of a child receiving their birthday gift from a loving parent. Receive this decree with the boldness of one who knows, beyond all shadow of doubt, that heaven has just spoken in their favor. And then, stand back and witness the unfolding. My child, my heart's beloved, allow me to catalog for you the full portfolio contained within this divine instrument. It is not a one-dimensional deposit. It carries freedom for a heart long imprisoned by fear and past hurt. Healing for a body that has borne the stress of the struggle. Honor for a name that has been dragged through the mud of gossip and slander. Hope for a future that, until now, may have looked like a bleak extension of the past. All these dimensions are encoded into the spiritual DNA of what heaven has released for you. It is not a check, it is a holy reversal mechanism. Every declaration of, "you'll never have," is about to be overwritten by the testimony of, "look what God has done." Every asset they said was lost, relationships, opportunities, time, joy, you are about to recover, and the return will come with such abundant interest that the original loss will be forgotten in the celebration of restoration. Every point of mockery, every smirk at your expense, will be turned into awe as they watch you walk in a confidence and provision you did not manufacture. For heaven's silence regarding your situation is broken. God is no longer quiet concerning you. The divine restraint has been lifted. And I, Michael, was commanded to tear through the dimensional veil, to shatter the clouds of confusion that have clouded your vision, to kick down the doors of delay that have barred your progress, to deafen the chorus of doubt that has sung in your ears, and to tell you, face to spirit face, you are seen. You are valued. You are chosen. This inheritance already has your name on it. It is a done deal in the spirit. Now, beloved, comes a crucial assignment. You must protect this moment. The enemy cannot forcibly snatch what has been released by sovereign decree, but he is a master of persuasion. He can convince you to walk away from it voluntarily. He can inject the thought, "This is just another internet message." He can hiss, "It's too late for you," or, "That's too big to be real," or the most insidious of all, "That's not for someone like you." If you listen to that static, the miracle will fold its golden wings and fly past you to a heart that is tuned to a frequency of faith. That is why I am here, shouting over the interference. That is why my voice carries the authority of the throne room. Because this time, you must not be persuaded to surrender. This time, you must respond. This time, you must reach out and claim what has been held in the vaults of eternity with your name as the only key. The spiritual treasury has never, in all its eternal operations, processed a single name transfer of this magnitude. But the order came from the top, release it to them. Their account of faithfulness is full. Their season of waiting is complete. And that, them, is you. That is why the spiritual pressure felt so intense recently, why the battles were fiercer, the weariness deeper, the attacks more personal. Right before a breakthrough of this scale, there is always a final, desperate siege. The darkness tried to extinguish your last flicker of hope. The shadows tried to mute the song of faith in your heart. But you held the line. You prayed when you had no words left. You stood when your strength was gone, held up by a grace you couldn't even feel. And that steadfastness was the final requirement. That is why the angels mustered. That is why the decree was drafted. That is why heaven sent me, not as a distant observer, but as a personal herald to you. This is no longer about the process of waiting, it is about the event of delivery. It is about divine fulfillment crashing into your timeline. And you have one final, active role to play: say yes. Yes to the miracle. Yes to the supernatural shift. Yes to the restoration of all things lost. Yes to the vault of heaven being emptied on your behalf. Say yes now, because moments of this clarity, of this divine intersection, are rare in a human lifetime. They are the hinges of destiny. They do not come twice in the same form. I do not wish to return to my post and have to record that you missed your moment by a heartbeat. You are close. Closer than you have ever been. Closer than your rational mind can comprehend. All of heaven has paused its endless worship to observe. The angels hold their breath. Even the enemy and his ranks tremble in a perverse hope that you will, once again, disqualify yourself through unbelief. But I believe in the seed of faith that has been planted in you. I believe you are ready. I believe this is your moment. So, open your heart. Let the walls down. Whisper to your own soul right now, I accept this decree. I accept this inheritance. I refuse to miss what God has ordained for me. Let that declaration settle into the soil of your spirit. For once you accept it in your heart, you activate it in the realm of the spirit. And once it is activated by your faith, it enters a state of irreversible momentum. It cannot be stopped, not by human bureaucracy, not by systemic bias, not by generational curses, not by jealous relatives, not by any force that has ever stood in your way. You are the miracle carrier now. You are the name glowing on the scroll. You are the one for whom the treasury was designed. You are the reason the realm of glory experienced a tremor of joy today. For when the seal was broken and your name was read aloud, the very light in the room intensified, pulsating with the joy of release. The moment of emancipation has come. Now, beloved, you must complete the circuit. Do not scroll away. Do not delay until a better time. Do not wait for a burning bush or a handwriting on the wall. This is your sign. This is your moment. This is your decree. All of creation awaits your yes. My child, my eternal beloved, I perceive a stirring, a quickening within you as you read this. That is the part of your spirit, your true, unblemished, eternal self, recognizing its own name being called from the pages of its destiny. And I must tell you what is on the other side of your yes. Once you receive and activate this divine decree, a sequenced unlocking will begin in your life. It will not be with Hollywood fanfare. It will be with the quiet, undeniable certainty of dawn following night. Doors that have been deadbolt for decades will begin to groan, then swing open on oiled hinges. People who once wrote you off will suddenly find your name on their lips, not because they've had a change of heart, but because heaven has changed your spiritual address. You have been relocated from the outskirts of favor to the zip code of divine preference. This is the inevitable earthly adjustment when a person steps fully into their divine inheritance. The natural realm must come into alignment with the spiritual truth. Even those who actively work to block you will find themselves powerless, forced to step aside. Why? Because this decree is not an earthly recommendation letter. It is a command from the supreme authority. It overrides all lower-level rulings. It shatters all man-made limitations. It recalibrates the scales of justice permanently in your favor. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to scheme, manipulate, beg, or prove your worth to access it. You simply have to believe. Believe that your name is worthy of being whispered in the halls of heaven. Believe that your season of waiting was not a waste, but a necessary incubation. Believe that your past, no matter how messy, is not a stronger author of your future than the promise of God. If you do not anchor yourself in this belief, you will let this moment become a relic of what could have been. And this is not a moment you can afford to relegate to nostalgia, beloved. This is the moment that will be cited in the testimony you give years from now. This is the line of demarcation heaven will draw in your biography. Before this, they survived by their wits. After this, they thrived by my spirit. You have been in survival mode for too many seasons, making ends meet through grit, hiding profound tears behind a professional smile, pretending fine when you were fractured, carrying the weight of deferred hopes in a secret compartment of your soul. Hear me, that was never the original blueprint for your life. That was the result of a war over your destiny. But now, the blueprint is being recovered. Your divine timeline is being fast-tracked into alignment. The colossal blessing of favor that was delayed by spiritual interference is now rushing toward you at the speed of answered prayer. But it reaches its destination only if you accept it. Only if you open this decree in your spirit and agree with its terms. For this message you are reading is far more than information, it is a live spiritual transaction. You are not merely a reader, you are a participant. At this very second, you are standing in the lobby of the first heavenly bank of restoration. An angelic teller stands behind a counter of pure light, holding a sealed, glowing scroll. He watches your eyes through this screen. He listens for the frequency of your heart. He awaits one word, one sincere gesture of faith from you. Yes. Say it now, child. Say it before the majestic doors of this treasury begin their slow, final swing shut. For this decree does not operate in a vacuum. Its activation creates a blessing tsunami that touches everyone connected to you. That is the core reason for the enemy's ferocious, recent opposition. He knows the math of heaven. He knows that once you rise, your entire household rises. Once you receive, the curse is broken for your children. Once you claim what is yours, generational strongholds are demolished at their root. Nothing terrifies the forces of darkness more than a single yes from a chosen one who finally remembers their power. That is why he tried to drug you with depression. That is why he tried to blindfold you with anxiety. That is why he populated your life with energy vampires and dream killers disguised as friends. But his strategy has failed. For now, your spiritual vision is clearing. You feel it in your gut, a knowing beyond knowing. You understand this is not ordinary content. This is not man's creation. This is not a script written by human hope. This is a message that was carved into the tablet of your destiny before the world began. And if you open it with the key of faith, you will unlock realms of blessing you have not even had the vocabulary to request. We are talking about sudden, divine appointments that bypass years of networking. Unexpected reconciliations that heal family rifts you thought were permanent. Relationships restored to health and purpose. Divine introductions to mentors, partners, and helpers you didn't know existed. A shocking clarity about your life's direction. A creative explosion of ideas and energy. A peace so profound it guards your heart even in chaos. A protection so tangible you feel shielded from harm. All of this, and infinitely more, is tied to this moment. All of it waits in the escrow account behind this decree. But the transfer cannot be initiated until you say yes. So do it now, beloved. Say yes. Declare it aloud if you need to cement it in the natural realm. I say yes to my miracle. I say yes to my inheritance. I say yes to the decree heaven has written in my name. And as you speak it, feel the shift. Feel the spiritual weight of oppression begin to crack and fall away. Feel the treasury doors swing wider still. You are not the person you were 5 minutes ago. You are being reconfigured in real time into the person heaven always knew you could be, a vessel of glory, a conduit of blessing, a living testament to restorative grace. And from this moment forward, no one and nothing can stop the purposes of God that are now being activated in you and through you. The journey of survival ends here. The adventure of divine overflow begins now.